Distinguished colleagues, I have with me correspondence from distinguished Senator Ezenwa Onyewuchi. But before I read, I would like to once again welcome our colleague, distinguished Senator Obuzorima, who himself is the chairman of the governors of the All Progressives Congress, APC. I welcome him to his chambers that he belongs forever as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Your Excellency, I welcome forever as a senator. I know before you leave, you report progress. Your Excellency, I welcome. And accompanying you is our Deputy National Chairman, South, our own brother, Chief Emmanuel Enugu, National. Chief, you are welcome, and thank you for accompanying the chairman of the APC governors in Nigeria to the chambers to witness this epoch movement. I also welcome all the other leaders from Imo State and the Southeast who accompanied His Excellency Obuzorima into the chamber. So you are all welcome. So I'll proceed to read the letter. All the other leaders, distinguished Senator Ezenwa, and the Southeast. Notification of movement to the All Progressives Congress. I, Senator Ezenwa Francis Onyewuchi, representing the good people of Imo East Senatorial District, elected under the Labour Party after due consultation with my family and conscience right to formally notify you and my distinguished colleagues of my resignation as member of the Labour Party and my formal declaration for the All Progressives Congress, the APC. This decision is due to the intractable division and crisis in the Labour Party that sponsored my earlier election into the Nigerian Senate. The communication is therefore made pursuant to Section 68, subsection 1G of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. Imo State and the entirety of the Southeast remain united under the leadership of our performing governor, His Excellency, distinguished Senator Obuzorima CON, to give our unflinching support to the President and Commander-in-Chief, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, and of course support the renewed hope agenda. So let me thank the uncommon President of the Senate for receiving me in an uncommon way, His Excellency Senator Godswill Akpabio. You put it, for his visionary leadership. I didn't say so. You said so. Let me also thank the uncommon President for the way and manner he has piloted the affairs of the 10 Senates of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I thank you. Please accept, as always, Mr. President of the Senate, the assurances of my highest esteem. Sincerely, Senator Ezenwa Onyewuchi, the man I love to call the voice of the gods. On behalf of the APC, I want to welcome you. And Sergeant at Arms, proceed to assist him to leave the hot seat and come to the cool seat. This letter is accepted with happiness. Your Excellencies, I thank you also for coming to witness this occasion. Distinguished Senator, huh? Distinguished Senator is on us all.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President of the Senate. My distinguished colleagues, thank you, Mr. President of the Senate, and my distinguished colleagues. We want to thank the Senate President and honorable distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria today for doing us this good. On behalf of myself, my colleague, Senator Patrick Ndubeze, and the entire Southeast senators of APC extraction, we want to inform the Senate and indeed the Nigerian people that today in Imo State, we have 3 senators of APC in Imo State. And also today in the entire Southeast, we now have 9 senators from APC in the entire Southeast. So we want to thank the governor of Imo State for making this possible, and also the Senate President for your visionary leadership and for this uncommon movement from the other parties to APC. Thank you and God bless us.
Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of an executive bill standing in
Leader
my
of the
name.
Senate. Can you move a motion to restore the sanctity of the chambers?
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the chief whip of the Senate has assured that the Senate is ready for us to commence the business of the day. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, may I move that the strangers having left us, uh, it is time for us to commence the business of the day. Mr. President, I so move.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion moved by the Senate leader. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the Senate leader had earlier moved a motion to suspend the rules of the Senate to admit strangers into the chambers. Now he has also moved that we restore the rules of the Senate and bar strangers from entering the proceedings of the Senate henceforth. Those in support that we restore sanctity to the hallowed chamber say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, the leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of an executive bill standing in my name on the Minimum Wage Act Amendment Bill 2024 SB 550. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Minimum Wage Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 550, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, the Minimum Wage Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 550, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of an executive bill standing in my name on the Police Act Amendment Bill 2024 SB 551. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Police Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 551, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Police Act Amendment Bill 2024 SB 551, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Abiru Adetokunbo Mikhail on the National Insurance Commission Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2024 SB 394. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Insurance Commission Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2024, SB 394, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, National Insurance Commission Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2024 SB 394, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Combowell Benson Friday on the Federal University of Science and Technology Koro Korosa Bayelsa State Establishment Bill 2024 SB 483. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal University of Science and Technology, Koro Korosa, Bayelsa State Establishment Bill 2024, SB 483, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Federal University of Science and Technology Kurukurusa Bias and State Establishment Bill 2024, SB 483, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Karimi Sunday Steve on the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 Alteration Bill 2024, SB 548. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 Alteration Bill 2024, SB 548, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 Alteration Bill 2024, SB 548, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the sixth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Saliu Mustafa on the Local Government Fiscal Accountability Bill 2024 SB 549. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Local Government Fiscal Accountability Bill 2024, SB 549, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Local Government Fiscal Accountability Bill 2024, SB 549, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is the second reading of the Minimum Wage Act Amendment Bill 2024 SB 550. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate do suspend its Rule 78 sub 1 in order to read the bill for a second time. And in support of that motion, Mr. President, I present my lead debate on the National Minimum Wage Amendment Bill 2024 SB 550.
The Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I write to second the motion that was to suspend our relevant rule to allow us to take this bill for the second time due to the urgent nature of the bill. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, in view of the seriousness of this issue of minimum wage and the need to cater for the general public and our labor force, the Senate leader has moved a motion that we do suspend our rule to enable us consider this bill for the second reading. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate, you will proceed to give us the
Thank you, Mr.
general
President.
principles.
Distinguished colleagues, lead debate on the National Minimum Wage Amendment Bill 2024 SB 550. Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I humbly rise to lead the debate on the general principles of the National Minimum Wage Amendment Bill 2024 SB 550. The bill, inter alia, seeks to amend the National Minimum Wage Act of 2019 to increase the national minimum wage and reduce the time for periodic review of the national minimum wage from 5 years to 3 years, and for related matters. The bill was read for the first time today, 23rd July 2024. You will recall, Mr. President and my dear colleagues, that in recent time, plethora of agitations and clamor have been recorded from organized labor and other segments of our society for increase in the national minimum wage in view of the prevailing economic situation in the country. In response to the agitations and after a series of negotiations between the federal government and the organized labor, the current national minimum wage of 30,000 naira only has been reviewed upward to the sum. Thank you, Chifu. In response to the agitations and after a series of negotiations between the federal government and the organized labor, the current national minimum wage of 30,000 naira only has been reviewed upward to the sum of 70,000 naira only. This is part of the federal government's short-term measures to mitigate the situation in the country, as efforts are being made to bring about long-term solutions that would align with the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians and bring succor to the country generally. Accordingly, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, I hereby urge you all to support the quick passage of this bill, as its passage is sacrosanct to the socio-economic and political well-being of our country. I thank you for your kind attention.
Distinguished Senator Mongodu, the whip of the Senate.
Distinguished President of the Senate, distinguished senators, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. My concern with regard to the second reading of this bill is the novel innovation to the effect that the review of the minimum wage, which hitherto by law is supposed to be 5 years, is now going to be reduced to 3 years. This is very novel amendment, especially against the backdrop of the fact that the prices of goods and services grows in geometric progression, while our income grows in arithmetic progression. So there is a need for Parliament to review the interval allowed by law for the purpose of amending the Act from 5 years to 3 years in order to take into cognizance the galloping inflationary trend in the country. So this is very, very novel and highly commendable. And then the second aspect of increasing the minimum wage from 30,000 to 70,000 is equally very, very germane and apt, especially against the backdrop of the effect of the removal of subsidy, which has brought about a corresponding increase in the prices of goods and services. So there is a need to review the minimum wage to bring it in tandem with realities that is prevalent in the society. So I support the second reading of this bill against the background of the arguments that I made. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Distinguished colleagues, is there anybody who is opposed to this increase in minimum wage? Okay. Those in support that this bill on minimum wage be read a second time, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the National Minimum Wage Act 2019 to increase the national minimum wage and reduce the time for periodic review of the national minimum wage from 5 years to 3 years, and for related matters 2024, SB 550, second reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the National Minimum Wage Act 2019 to increase the national minimum wage and reduce the time for periodic review of the national minimum wage from 5 years to 3 years, and for related matters therewith 2024. Second reading taken. The bill is referred to Committee of the Whole in accordance with Senate Rule 80, Sub Rule 1. Senate Leader.
Mr. President, Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate resolve the Committee of the Whole to enable us consider this bill. I so move, Mr. President.
Yeah, distinguished Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that you have dissolved the Committee of Whole to consider this very important bill. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this hallowed chamber do resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider clause by clause of this most important bill. Those in support that we move into Committee of the Whole to do clause by clause consideration of this bill say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, report on a bill for an act to amend the National Minimum Wage Act number 8 of 2019 to increase the national minimum wage and reduce the time for periodic review of the national minimum wage from 5 years to 3 years, and for related matters SB 550. On the report, amendment of the National Minimum Wage Act number 8, 2009 and 19. Clause 1 is retained. Those in support of the retention say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 2 equally retained. Those in support of the retention of clause 2 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 3, the citation is also retained. Those in support of the retention of the citation clause say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Short title, clause 3, page 1. Those in support of the short title on page 3, page 1 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Explanatory memorandum and schedules nil. Those in support as retained say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate reverts to plenary to enable the chairman report progress. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion moved by the Senate leader that the House refer back to plenary for the chair to report progress. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this Senate do revert into committee of the whole for the chair to report progress. Those in support of the motion as seconded say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the committee of the whole considered the National Minimum Wage Amendment Bill 2024 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended. Number of clauses 1 to 2 as recommended. Interpretation clause nil. Short title clause 3 as recommended. Schedules nil. Explanatory memorandum nil. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the committee of the whole? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, in compliance with Senate Rule 80 sub 1 of the Senate Standing Orders 2023 as amended, I now move that the Senate, that this bill be read for the third time. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that this bill be read the third time. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that in line with the rules 80 subsection 1 and this bill be now read a third time. Those in support that this bill be read a third time say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate, you may proceed to read the bill.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, A bill for an act to amend the National Minimum Wage Act 2019 to increase the national minimum wage and reduce the time for periodic review of the national minimum wage from 5 years to 3 years, and for related matters 2024. Third reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the National Minimum Wage Act 2019 and to increase the national minimum wage and reduce the time for periodic review of the national minimum wage from 5 years to 3 years, and for related matters 2024. Third reading. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the National Minimum Wage Act 2019 to increase the national minimum wage from 30,000 to 70,000 and to reduce the time for periodic review of the national minimum wage from 5 years to 3 years, and for related matters 2024. Third reading taken and passed. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the second order of the day is the second reading of the Police Act Amendment Bill 2024 SB 551. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate do suspend its Rule 78(1) in order to read the bill for the second time. I so move, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion by the Senate Leader that we suspend our relevant rule to allow us to consider this bill for the second time. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, a motion has been moved and seconded that we suspend our Rule 78(1) in order to allow this bill to be read a second time. Those in support of the motion as moved and seconded say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I humbly rise to lead the debate on the general principles of this bill. The bill was read for the first time today, 23rd of July 2024. Mr. President, Mr. President and their colleagues, this bill seeks to enable a person appointed to the office of the Inspector General of Police to remain in office until the end of the term stipulated in the letter of appointment. The bill aims to revolutionize police operation by enhancing accountability, modernizing policing method, and fostering a more harmonious relationship between the police and the community. Accordingly, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, I hereby urge you all to support the quick passage of the bill. I thank you.
Yes, distinguished Senate President Emeritus, Senator Ahmed Lawan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, Ahmed Lawan, I represent Yobe North Senatorial District. Mr. President, I just need a little explanation on whether there is a proviso on the amendment we are trying to make. Your Excellency, by way of a reminder, what we are trying to do, and I'll read them in part. We amend this section to enable a person appointed to the office of Inspector General of Police to remain in office until the end of the term stipulated in the letter of appointment. Is there any clause anywhere that subjects the stay in office by the IGP to good conduct, to performance? Because, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, until people given appointments perform satisfactorily, when we simply give them the opportunity to serve as far as the tenure in the letter indicates, I think that will be abused because somebody will feel he will not be removed regardless. And I think if there is no proviso, I have my worries here. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, without speaking for the bill, I think having been a chief executive of a state, I can imagine the work of a chief executive of a nation, irrespective of the tenure of the appointment, whether it's 3 years, even in local government, or 4 years as commissioner, where you are ineffective in your work. There are other provisos, there are other provisions, even in the Constitution, that gives the president or the chief executive the power to either suspend or remove such a person. It doesn't mean that a person must exhaust his tenure. I think it's subject to performance. I think it's subject to effectiveness. You have a very ineffective police chief, and you give him appointment for 2 years, even if in 6 months he does not do well, you have overriding public interest. You must let such a person go. And if the act says he should save his tenure, then you suspend the person because you still have the overriding power of suspension because of ineffectiveness. So I have noted your observations. Yes, distinguished Senator Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my dear colleagues. Henry Siriake Dixon, Bayelsa West. Mr. President, first, I would like to observe that it's rather unfortunate that in this country we've not been able to formulate set and steady rules aimed at strengthening the police as a service and protecting the office of the Inspector General of Police. It is not for nothing, Mr. President and my dear colleagues, that whereas the Constitution of the Federal Republic says that a president, any president of this country, is commander-in-chief of the armed forces, the Constitution does not say so of the police. The police is a different service altogether, a service that is intended to work for the people, for the due enforcement of the laws and for maintenance of peace and order. The worry I have is that the amendment sought, no matter the intention, is seeking to make an appointment to last as long as the appointment letter lasts. So, if somebody has appointed a person as Inspector General for 5 years or for 10 years, what this Senate is being invited to endorse is that by this amendment, if passed, the person must stay in office for 10 years. I know, Mr. President, Senate President, you have observed rightly too, that within this period, nothing stops the president from firing. But that leads us back to where we are coming from, which as someone who started life in the police, are very sad about. This Senate should rather think of a holistic review of the Police Act, aimed at strengthening, creating the institution, and insulating it from political pressures. We should elevate the office of the Inspector General to a level of justices of the Supreme Court, for example, or of those independent national electoral officers, for example, where the approval or two-thirds majority of the National Assembly or of this Senate should be sought. So this is a new dimension. I know that the Senate leader has said that the amendment is aimed at strengthening the office. But I think that this amendment, we should look at it carefully, particularly as it relates to somebody staying in office for as long as the office. An appointment that is created by the Constitution, the tenure and the way and manner the person should be removed should be in accordance with the Constitution and the prevailing laws, and not a letter of appointment. So I believe that in as much as this bill is well intended, the police needs a comprehensive review, needs institutional strengthening, which we fully support, that maybe as a result of these issues I've raised and many more others, maybe we can stand down this bill for further consultation, and even consultation with the police authorities themselves and other relevant stakeholders, so that by solving a problem, we don't create other sets of problems. Thank you.
Yes, clarification.
Thank you, Mr. President, and very distinguished colleagues. I listened to Mr. Senate President Emeritus, His Excellency Senator Ahmad Lawa. Very valid observation. I've also, like the rest of us, just listened to most distinguished Senator Seriaki Dixon. And I also give it to him that having run a successful political career as a member of the House of Representatives, as a senator, and a former governor, I cannot also run away from the fact that he started his career as a policeman and a police officer in this country. However, Mr. President, it's important that I made this clarification so that we don't center our debate around misconception. The Police Act 2020, in section 7, sub 6, has already defined, also as done by the Constitution of our country, has already defined the tenure of office of the Inspector General of Police. It says it is 4 years. And usually when an Inspector General of Police is appointed, that is also stated in the letter. And if you look at what this bill is seeking to do, this bill is only seeking, to achieve that purpose, that you are appointed for a specific tenure, and you should be able to, spend that tenure in office, except where the appointing authority decides otherwise. Mr. President, from the chair, you gave instances. And the Police Act is also very clear as to the procedure for the removal of Inspector General of Police, where for any reason is also living under expectation. And this bill, sir, is also with reference to section 7.6. Let's look at the bill again. The bill, section 18, the amendment of section 18. Section 18 of the Principal Act is amended by inserting a new subsection 8A, which reads, notwithstanding the provisions of subsection 8 of this section, any person appointed to the office of Inspector General of Police shall remain in office until the end of the term stipulated in the letter of appointment, in line with the provisions of section 7(6) of this act. Section 7(6). And what does section 7(6) says? That an Inspector General of Police shall spend 4 years in office. So it's already defined. And this bill is not seeking to do anything otherwise. If anything, as Senator Seriaki Dixon would want to see happen in our country, this bill is only seeking to guarantee the tenure of office of the Inspector General of Police without prejudice to the various provisions in the Police Act as to the procedure for removal of the Inspector General of Police where he is found wanting. Thank you, sir.
I think, distinguished colleagues, if you listen to the Senate leader, the section 7(6) has already specified that an Inspector General of Police will only be appointed for 4 years. But of recent, they've had a lot of schemisms between the Police Service Commission and the Office of Inspector General of Police. Then the Act itself also specifies that even though the Inspector General of Police may be appointed for 4 years, where he is found wanting, the Act also provides of how he should be removed from office. You have had issues in the past where service chiefs stayed above 7 years. Service chiefs stayed above 6 years. And they were fighting Boko Haram. And the Boko Haram never finished. And their tenure never finished. I don't know whether you understand my point. So this one is not seeking to extend the tenure of the police IGP by 1 day, but also the provision in the Act also specifies how the IGP who is ineffective can be removed. So what you are saying is part of what is already being done, strengthening the office to avoid a fight between the Police Service Commission and IG, and then at the end. So if the IG knows that he has 4 years and where he's effective and where the appointer, the appointing authority finds him, effective, then he has no fear with what the Police Service Commission is seeking to do. So it strengthens it, and it does not derogate from it. The DSP.
Mr. President, my name is Barrow Jibrin. I represent Kaduna North. Mr. President, I don't think there's any ambiguity in the intendment of this bill. It's simply I said there's no ambiguity in the intendment of this bill. As is clearly stated in item 2, amendment of section 18, is saying that let's go in line with the stipulation of the legislation that specifies the duration of the term of office of the Inspector General of Police. It's not asking that we should add 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. No, it's saying, look, let's stay by that, and whoever is nominated or appointed should spend 4 years. This is very clear. I don't think there's any problem in this bill. So please, let's just move on and get it passed so that we go to the next item. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, those in support that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those again say nay. The ayes have it. Yes. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Police Act and for related matters 2024, SB 551, second reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Police Act 2019 and to enact the Police Act 2024. Second reading taken. The bill is committed to the Committee of the Whole for further consideration. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, in compliance with Senate Rule 80, subsection 1 of the Senate Standing Orders 2023 as amended, I now move that the Senate do resolve into the Committee of the Whole for the clause-by-clause consideration of the bill. I so move, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. I write to second the motion that the House dissolve the Commission of Whole for us to consider the clause by clause of the bill. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this August Assembly now resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider this bill clause by clause. Those in support of the motion say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Distinguished colleagues, report of the bill for an act to amend the Nigeria Police Act 2020 to enable a person appointed to the office of the Inspector General of Police to remain in office for 4 years as stipulated by the terms of the letter of his appointment, and for later matters SB 551. Amendment of the Nigeria Police Act. Clause 1, retain. Those in support of retention say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 2, amendment of section 18 of the Principal Act. Retained. Those in support of the amendment of clause 2 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 3, short title. The bill may be cited as the Nigerian Police Act Amendment Bill 2024. Those in support of this short title as written in the proposed report say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Explanatory memorandum. It does not form part of this act, but it is intended to explain its purport. Those in support of this explanatory memorandum say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate revert to plenary to enable the chairman report progress. I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I write to second the motion that the House refer back to plenary for the chair to report progress. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that we revert to plenary for the chair to report progress. Those in support of the motion say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it. We refer to plenary.
Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the Nigeria Police Amendment Bill 2024 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended. Number of clauses 1 to 2 as recommended. Interpretation clause nil. Short title clause 3 as recommended. Schedules nil. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate do suspend its Rule 78 sub 1 in order to read the bill for a third time.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I like to second the motion as moved by the Senate leader. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, a motion has been moved and seconded that we do suspend our Rule 78(1) to enable this bill to be read for a third time. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Police Act 2019 and for related matters 2024. Third reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Police Act 2019 and for related matters therewith 2024. Third reading taken. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Police Act. Just a minute. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Police Act 2019 and for related matters therewith 2024. Third reading taken and passed. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, both the third order as well as the fourth order of the day are in respect of reports to be laid by the same committee for consideration. I, therefore, Mr. President, would like to first move that the presentation and consideration of the reports contained in both the third and fourth orders of the day be taken together. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I like to second the motion as moved. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved that the third and fourth orders of the day be taken together. Those in support of the motion as moved and seconded say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Trade and Investment on the screening of Dr. Olatunji Bello for appointment as the Chief Executive Officer and Executive Vice Chairman of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. Mr. President, the fourth order of the day as well is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Trade and Investment on the screening of Jobson Ewalifo for appointment as Director General Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Most Distinguished Senator Sulaiman Umar Sadiq, the chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of both reports.
Distinguished Senator Omar Sadiq.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I am Sadiq Sulaiman Umar. I represent the good and decent people of Kwara North and who are. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Trade and Investment on the confirmation of the nomination of Dr. Bello Olatunji for appointment as the Chief Executive Officer, Vice Chairman of Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC. I also rise to move that the Senate equally do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Trade and Investment on the confirmation of the nomination of Dr. Jobson Esiodun Ewanlefo for appointment as the Director General, Infrastructure Consensual Regulatory Commission, ICRC. I so move, Mr. President.
Yes, Senator Abiru.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Adetokunbo Abiru. I rise to support the motion by my colleague, Senator Sadiq Umar, for us to receive the report of both the confirmation of Mr. Tunji Bello as the Chief Executive Officer and Executive Vice Chairman of Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, and equally the confirmation of nomination of Dr. Jobson Ewalefo as the Director General of Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission. I so second. Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleague.
Distinguished colleagues, is there anybody who is opposed to these two motions? Senate Leader, may wish to move a motion that will resolve into committee of the whole. But they have. You haven't laid the report. Those in support of the motion that this report be laid, the two reports be laid for consideration, say aye. Those again say nay. The ayes have it. Come, proceed to lay the two reports. Distinguished Senator Sadiq Umar, you may wish to give us a summarized version of the report. Please summarize your report.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues. The report of the Senate Committee on Trade and Investment on the screening of the nomination of Mr. Olatunji Bello for appointment as Chief Executive Officer and Executive Vice Chairman of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. The Senate, at the sitting on the Thursday, 27 June 2024, considered the request of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, for the confirmation of the nomination of Mr. Olatunji Bello for appointment as the Chief Executive Officer of FCCPC. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, we've received all the documents from Mr. Tunji Bello, and he was invited for screening on the Monday, 8 July 2024. The nominee appeared before the committee for the screening exercise. The committee interviewed the nominee and he responded to questions regarding his qualification, experience, suitability, competence, and integrity to assume the position of Chief Executive Officer, Executive Vice Chairman of Commission as follows. Recommendation. Mr. President, at the end of the screening exercise, the committee deliberated on the nominee's suitability for appointment as Chief Executive Chair, Vice Chairman of the Commission. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, the nominee has been found suitable and is hereby recommended that it should be approved. I so present, Mr. President. Yeah, of course. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, again, in the same vein, the Senate referred the confirmation of Dr. Jobson Oseodo Ewalefo for appointment by Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He was equally invited. He came with his documentation. The committee screening on Wednesday, 17 July 2024. He appeared before the committee for screening. The committee interviewed the nominee and he responded to all the questions. His background information and experience is in the report. Generally, at the end of the screening exercise, the committee deliberated on the nominee's suitability for appointment as Director General of Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, ICRC, and made the following observation: that the nominee has satisfied the requirements of Section 153 and 156 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. No record of any no petition against him, security agencies was all clear, and therefore the Senate Committee on Trade and Investment, having screened the nominee, carefully scrutinized his credentials and being satisfied with his performance, experiences, and qualifications, that the Senate do confirm the nomination of Dr. Jobson Oseodo for appointment as the Director General of the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission. We so move, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, on behalf of the committee, I wish to sincerely thank the Senate for the opportunity to serve in this regard. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, any contribution? So in the absence of any objection, a leader of the Senate, you may wish, leader of the Senate. Leader of the Senate, you may wish to move that we commit to a committee of the whole.
Distinguished Senate President and my colleague, I stand to move that. Sorry. I stand to move that we resolve into committee of whole to consider the report.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I would like to second the motion moved by the Senate leader. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that we resolve into committee of the whole to consider the two reports. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So, Distinguished colleagues, the distinguished colleagues, will the Senate approve the nomination of Dr. Bello Olatunji for appointment as the Chief Executive Officer, Executive Vice Chairman of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate approve the nomination of Jobson Ewalefo for appointment as Director General, Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senate Leader.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleague, I stand to move that we revert back to plenary for Mr. President to report progress.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, I write to second the motion that we refer back to plenary for the chair to report progress. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that we do revert to plenary for the chair to report progress. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the reports of the Committee on Trade and Investment on the confirmation of Mr. President nominees for appointment as Chief Executive Officer, Executive Chairman, Vice Chairman of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCPC, and approved the nomination of Dr. Bello Olatunji as the Chief Executive Officer, Executive Vice Chairman of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Distinguished colleagues, the Senate Okay. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate, the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Trade and Investment on the confirmation of Mr. President nominee for appointment as the Director General of the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission and approved the nomination of Dr. Jobson Eseodion Ewalefo as the Director General, Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the appointment of Dr. Bello Olatunji for appointment as the Chief Executive Officer, Executive Vice Chairman of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission? Those in favor of the confirmation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Dr. Bello Olatunji is hereby confirmed as the Chief Executive Officer, Executive Vice Chairman of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Jobson Ewalefo for appointment as Director General, Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Jobson Ewalefo is hereby confirmed as Director General, Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission. Leader of the Senate. Let me very quickly thank the committee on trade and investment on the report that they have brought before the Nigerian Senate, painstakingly done, very thorough job on the two confirmations, that of the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission Director General, as well as the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. I've gone through the report and I believe strongly that our dear brother, Senator Dr. Sadiq Umar, and his committee deserve commendation. I also want to thank all my colleagues for their contributions towards the process of this confirmation. I wish the confirmed appointees luck in their endeavors and pray that they will serve their country selflessly, sacrificially, and help to improve the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President and this administration for the betterment of our dear nation. I congratulate them on behalf of the 10th Senate and wish them well in their new endeavors. Leader of the Senate.
Your Excellency, the Senate President, distinguished colleagues, the fifth order of the day is presentation and consideration of the report of Committee on Agricultural Colleges and Institutions on the following bills. Agricultural Research Council Act, Amendment Bill 2024, SB 477. B. Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act, Amendment Bill 2024, SB 56. C. Agricultural Research Council Act, Amendment Bill 2023, SB 212. The distinguished senators will recall that these bills were referred to the committee on Tuesday, 21st May 2024, Wednesday, 20th March 2024, and Wednesday, 17th July 2024, respectively. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Adegbomire Adeniyi Ayodele, Chairman of Committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Yes, distinguished Senator Olalere.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I write to second the motion as moved by the Senate leader. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman of the committee, you may present your report.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, and Dr. Titus Tatengizam, I represent Benue Northwest Senatorial District, and I am the Vice Chairman Committee on Agri, Colleges and Institutions. I rise to present the report of the Senate Committee on Agricultural Colleges. Mr. President, with your kind permission, may I lay the report?
Please, a seconder, please. Senator Khalid, you may wish to second the motion, heavily moved by the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Ibrahim Khalid. I represent Kaduna North Senatorial District. I rise to
Those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. May we to present the reports. Mr. Chairman, may we to go to the summary of the report and the conclusion because we have
Okay.
budget
Okay.
bill to consider.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, report of the Senate Committee on Agricultural Colleges and Institutions on a bill for an act to amend the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act Cap 8 12 Laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 2004 to make provision for the establishment of Federal College of Fisheries and Aquatic Sciences, Umasha, to local government area, Nasarawa State, and for related matters, SB 5.6. The bill, in summary, seeks to amend the Agricultural Rights Council of Nigeria Act to establish the Federal College of Fisheries and Aquatic Sciences, Onumasha, to the local government area of Nasarawa State. In furtherance of the referral, the committee met whereby it extensively deliberated on the provisions of the bill. The committee, having considered the proposed bill and taking into account its relevance to the development of this country, hereby recommends that the Senate do consider and pass the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act Amendment B 2023 SB 56. I so move. Similarly, a report of the Senate Committee on Agricultural Colleges and Institutions on the bill for an act to amend the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria 2004 as amended to make provision for the establishment of Federal College of Agricultural Technology, OPAJU, Ojabo, Benue State, to contribute to the development of Nigeria through training of qualitative manpower in agriculture by adequate exposure to sound theoretical background, practical farm and field demonstration, and for related matters, 2023 SB 212. In furtherance of the referral, the committee met whereby it extensively deliberated on the provisions of the bill. The committee, having considered the proposed bill and taking into account its relevance to the development of this country, hereby recommends that the Senate do consider and pass the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act Amendment B 2023 SB 21. I so move. Finally, report on the Senate Committee on Agricultural Colleges and Institutions on the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act Amendment B 2024. In furtherance of the referral, the committee met whereby it extensively deliberated on the provisions of the bill. That the intent of the bill is to establish Federal College of Agriculture, Nabanje, Katsina State, is a welcome development. The committee, having considered the proposed bill and taking into account its relevance to the development of this country, hereby recommends that the Senate do consider and pass the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act Amendment B 2024 SB 477.
I so move, Mr. Senate President. Thank you, distinguished colleagues.
Thank you very much. I don't think is anybody who has anything to say. Okay, well, without the absence of anything, I think any person raising any observation, let me call on the leader to move that the Senate goes into committee of whole to consider report. The Senate leader.
Mr. Senate President, distinguished colleague, I stand to move a motion that the Senate do resolve to the Committee of Whole to consider the report.
Reports. Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I write to second the motion assembly moved by the Senate leader. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion moved by the Senate leader and seconded by the minority leader, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
We start with the bill number SB 56. Those in favor that clauses 1, 2, 3 stand part of the bill, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum stand part of the bill, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Now we take on Bill SB 212. Those in favor that clauses 1, 2, 3 stand part of the bill, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum stand part of the bill, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Now we go to bill number 4, SB 477. Those in favor that clauses 1, 2, 3, and 4 stand part of the bill, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum stand part of the bill, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The leader of Senate.
Your Excellency, Mr. Senate President, distinguished colleague, I stand to move that to request Mr. President to revert back to plenary in order to report progress.
Minority leader.
Mr. President, sitting at chair, I write to second the motion that the Senate refer back to plenary for the chair to report progress.
Those in favor of the motion moved by the leader that the Senate moves to the plenary to report progress and seconded by the minority leader, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Report. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Agricultural Colleges and Institutions on the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act Amendment Bill 2024 and approve as follows. Number of clauses, clauses 1 to 2 as recommended. Interpretation, clauses 3 as recommended. Schedule, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? The leader of the Senate. I'm sorry, the clerk. Okay. Oh, sorry. Sorry, that was in respect of bill. Okay, the second bill, sorry.
The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Agricultural Colleges and Institutions on the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria and Amendment Bill 2024 and approved as follows. Number of clauses 1 to 2 as recommended, short title, clause 3 as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. It is a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole. The third bill. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Agricultural Colleges and Institutions of the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria and Amendment Bill 2024 and approved as follows. Long titles are recommended. Number of clauses 1 to 3 as recommended. We please ensure order in the Senate, please. Short title, clause 4 as recommended. Schedules, explanatory memorandum as recommended. It is a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole. The leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the bill be now read the third time. I so move.
The minority leader.
The President and the single colleagues, I rise to second the motion as moved by the Senate leader. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion moved by the Senate leader and seconded by the minority leader, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, the distinguished senators, a bill for now to amend the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act, Cap 812, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, as amended, to make provision for the establishment of Federal College of Agriculture, Nabanje, Katsina State, and for related matters 2024. Third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act, Cap 812, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to make provision for the establishment of the Federal College of Fisheries and Aquatic Sciences at Umansha into the local government area of Nasarawa State, and for related matters 2024, SB 56, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria 2004 as amended to make provision for the establishment of Federal College of Agricultural Technology, Upialu, Ojapo, Benue State, to contribute to the development of Nigeria through training of qualitative manpower in agriculture by adequate exposure to sound theoretical backgrounds, practical farm and field demonstration, and for related matters 2024. Third reading.
A bill for now to amend the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act, Cap 8, 1-2 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, as amended to make provision for the establishment of Federal College of Agriculture, Nabanje, Katsina State, and for related matters 2024, third reading taken and passed. A bill for an act, that is number 2. A bill for an act to amend the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act Cap A 1-2 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 to make provision for the establishment of Federal College of Fisheries and Aquatic Sciences at Umesha in total local government area Nasarawa State, and for related matters 2024 third reading taken and passed. C. A bill for an act to amend the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria 2004 as amended to make provision for the establishment of Federal College of Agricultural Technology, Upialu Ojapu, Benue State, to contribute to the development of Nigeria through training of qualitative manpower in agriculture by adequate exposure to sound theoretical background, practical farm and field demonstration, and for related matters 2024 third reading taken and passed. I want to commend the committee for a job well done, and also particularly chairman, who was represented by the deputy chair in this presentation of the reports of these three bills. It is a fact that agriculture is the backbone of our economy, and if we are able to create institutions like the one in Nabanja and Kazanda State that will train the necessary manpower to drive our agricultural sector, I think it's something good for our country. It's quite commendable that this bill is brought, was brought in the first place and then passed now. We are hoping that Mr. President will sign it so that we have this institution created in the manner that it will serve this country very well in promoting or driving our agricultural sector, to the best destination we hope for. So also the one in Umasha in total local government. There's something that when it is instituted, when they are established, will also help to drive our agriculture sector to the best destination we are hoping for. The one in Upialu Olapo in Benue State also is also desirable because of the importance to our agricultural sector. So we hope that Mr. President will give his assent to the establishment of these three institutions, which are really good for the promotion and sustenance, or the kind of change we want to bring to bear so that our agricultural sector is changed for the better. The leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, again, both the sixth order of the day and the seventh order of the day are reports to be laid for consideration of this Senate by the same committee on judiciary, human rights, and legal matters. So, Mr. President, I rise to move that the reports contained in both the sixth and seventh orders of the day be laid together by the chairman of the committee for the consideration of the Senate. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion moved by the Senate Leader. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The newly minted chairman of the committee. Oh, you are going to take it, Chief Whip? Okay, go ahead.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. Mr. President, I don't know whether I am punctus officio to still act on this report, but maybe I will do it as my valedictory assignment for the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters.
You can do it as a member of the committee, but you can't do it as the chairman of the committee because you are no longer the chairman of the committee. If you do it as a member of the committee or as someone assigned to do it by the chairman, that is fine. But to do it as a chairman, I think as a lawyer, as a learned person, is quite not correct.
Well, I am doing it as a member of the committee because both the chairman and the member are not around. both the
You
chairman
can go
and
ahead.
vice
You can go
chairman
ahead.
are
That's
not
all.
around.
That's all. You can go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. President, distinguished senators, I hereby move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights, and Legal Matters on the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act Amendment Bill 2024 SB 379, and then two, that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights, and Legal Matters on the Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Legal Matters Act 2016 Amendment Bill 2024 SB 376. I so move.
Can we maintain silence, please? Order, please.
Order, please.
A seconder, Senator Reverend Johanna, you may second the motion.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I am Amos Johanna, Adamawa North. I rise to second the motion as moved by the member judiciary. I so second.
Thank you for moving it correctly. Those in favor of the motion moved by a member of the Judiciary Committee and Chief Whip of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and seconded by Senator Johanna, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You may proceed to lay the report. The reports.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, my name is Mohammed Tahir Monguno. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. Well, Mr. President, distinguished senators, the intention of this bill, of these two bills, is for Nigeria to comply with international best practice and to bring laws concerning terrorism and prevention of terrorism in consonance with the Financial Action Task Force and then the requirement of the International Country Risk Guide. These two bodies, there are certain requirements of each member country to comply with in the fight against acts of terrorism. So this bill seeks to bring Nigeria's terrorism laws to be in compliance, in tandem with the requirements of the International Task Force and then International Country Risk Guide. Thank you.
Point of order.
The leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I write pursuant to Order 8/3 of our rules to move for extension of time to enable us sit beyond 3 p.m. To conclude the proceedings for the day. I so move, Mr. President.
Minority leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I write to second the motion moved by the Senate leader. Thank you.
Those in favor of the motion moved by the leader and seconded by minority leader, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The time. Okay, the ayes have it. You may continue your report, Chief Whip. You finished it too? Continue. Have you finished? You've done the first one, then the second one. Oh, you finished it too. You are done. Thank you very much. In absence of any observation in respect of his submission, which is very straightforward, I call on the leader to move to so that we can go to the committee of the whole to consider a report. The leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate do resolve into committee of the whole to enable us to consider the report. I so move.
Minority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues, I write to second the motion that the House do resolve to committee of whole to enable us to consider the report.
Those in favor of the motion moved by the leader and seconded by minority leader, please say aye. Those against say nay. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
We start with Bill SB 379. Those in favor that clauses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 5 stands part of the bill, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum stand part of the bill, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. We now go to Bill SB 376. Those in favor that clauses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5, stand part of the bill, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum stand part of the bill, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The leader of the Senate. The leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate do revert back to plenary to enable the chairman report progress.
Minority leader.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, I like to second the motion moved by the Senate leader that the House refer back to plenary for the chair to report progress as well.
Those in favor of the motion moved by the leader and seconded by a minority leader, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Report. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the Terrorism, Prevention and Prohibition Act Amendment Bill 2024 and approved as follows. Number of clauses 1 to 5 as recommended. Short title, clause 6 as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. If this is true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole, the second report, the Senate and the Committee of the Whole consider the report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters on the Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters Act 2018 Amendment Bill 2024 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended. Number of clauses, clauses 1 to 4 as recommended. Interpretation, clause 5 as recommended. Short title, clause 6 as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? The leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President, and very distinguished senators. The eighth order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Finance.
Third reading. Third reading.
I'm well guarded, Mr. President, and I thank you and the Secretariat. may I be considered to have reason to move that the bill be now read the third time? I so move.
The manual leader moves that the bills now be
Mr.
read.
President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion moved by the Senate leader that the bill be read the third time.
Bills.
Sir? Okay, the two bills be read the third time.
Those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Declare from the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022 to enable Nigeria implement targeted financial sanctions relating to terrorism and terrorism financing without delay and for related matters 2024. Third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters Act 2018 and for related matters 2024. Third reading.
A bill for an act. A bill for an act to amend the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022 to enable Nigeria implement targeted financial sanctions relating to terrorism and terrorism financing without delay and for later matters 2024. Third reading taken and passed. The second bill where is the second one here? A bill for an act to amend the Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters Act 2018 and for related matters 2024. Third reading taken and passed. The leader of the Senate. Let me commend the members of the committee for a job well done, and also commend the former chairman, who is now the chief whip of the Senate, and also the newly minted chairman for the industry they put in putting this report together. We hope these two enactments will help to deal with the issues contained in them when assented by Mr. President in the manner that they provide the best solutions to the problems dealing Nigeria in those two areas, or in the areas so mentioned, and will bring resolution of the issues involved. Thank you. The leader of the Senate.
Leader of the Senate. Leader of the Senate. Olalere, please, the next item. The next item, please. Leader of the Senate, please read the next item, please.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I am standing to move that we step down the eighth order of the day, which is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Finance on the Finance Act Amendment Bill 2024 SB 539, just because copies of this report are still being produced while we move to order 9, which is the presentation of the report of the Committee on Appropriation. I so move, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, I rise to second the motion as moved by the Senate leader. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that we do step down the finance bill and proceed to take the bill on appropriation. Those who support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the ninth order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Appropriation on the 2024 Appropriation Act.
Senator Wadada. Senator Wadada, take your seat.
The ninth order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Appropriation on the 2024 Appropriation Act Amendment Bill 2024 SB 538. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 17 July 2024. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Adeola Solomon Olamilekon, chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
The distinguished Senator Olamilekon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Adeola Solomon Olamilekon, representing Ogun West. Mr. President, may I move that this Senate do receive the report of the Senate Committee on Appropriation on the 2024 Appropriation Act Amendment Bill. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, I so move.
Distinguished Senator Victor Ome, you may wish to second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Victor Ume. I represent Anambra Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I rise to send that to receive the reports.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this Senate do receive the report from the Committee on Appropriation on the 2024 Appropriation Act Amendment Bill. Those in support of the motion has moved and seconded say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You may proceed to lay the report. Yes, just give us the synopsis.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleague. The report of the Senate Committee on Appropriation on the 2024 Act Amendment Bill. The Senate President, distinguished colleague. The first page is introduction. The Senate may recall that on Wednesday, 17 July 2024, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, transmitted to the Senate a bill for an act to amend the Appropriation Act of 2024 and to provide for the sum of 6.2 trillion naira, which comprises of 3.2 trillion naira for capital expenditure and 3 trillion naira for the recurrent expenditure. Mr. President, page 2 of the report has to do with the objective of the bill, and the 2024 Appropriation Act Amendment Bill seeks to, among others, make additional fund for renewed hope infrastructural development projects to be undertaken across the country and to meet other recurrent expenditure requirements such as the minimum wage increase necessary for the effective governance of this country. Mr. President, 3.0 has to do with the legislative action, which has to do with the procedure that was followed in the consideration of the documents sent to us by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. President, page 3 of the report has to do with the observation of the committee, which is on 4.0. The committee observed as follows: the need to provide for the government equity component of the renewed hope infrastructural project and other critical projects to be undertaken across the country, and other recurrent expenditure requirements like the provision for new minimum wage, among others, which necessitated the request for the amendment of 2024 Appropriation Act. 5.0. Mr. President, 5.0 of the report on page 3 has to do with the revenue projection to finance the 6.22 trillion amendment being sought by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The additional expenditure contained in the amendment bill will be financed by the one-time windfall tax or levy on banks' foreign exchange profit for the year 2023 as approved by the National Assembly and other independent revenue and sources of revenue of the federal government. Recommendation. Mr. President, still on page 3, 6.0 has to do with the recommendation. The Senate President, distinguished colleague, the committee hereby recommend that the Senate do consider and approve the amendment of a bill for an act to authorize the issuance from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation the total sum of 35 trillion 55 billion 536 million 770,218 naira only, of which the sum of 1 trillion 742 billion 786,788 786,788,150 only in for the statutory transfers, while 8.2 trillion only for the debt service and 11.268 trillion naira expenditure, while the sum of 13.77 trillion 0.25 billion naira 94,384 naira for the Capital Development Fund expenditure for the year ending on 31st day of December 2024. In conclusion, page 4. Consequently, we thank the Senate President, the leadership of the Senate, and all senators for the support given to the committee in processing this bill. We also thank members of the committee and secretariat staff for working tirelessly in order to meet up with the time given by the Senate in processing the bill. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I so submit.
Deputy Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Baroji is my name. Mr. President, as a former chairman of the Committee on Appropriations, let me say with full authority that the committee has done a good job by the time it has taken to do this very, very complex
an important assignment within a very short period of time. And the report as put together is well packaged and well done in the best professional manner possible. Quite direct to the point and having no issues at all. I commend the chairman who is experienced, who has been in the system of budgeting for quite a long time, and also an accountant, professional accountant. The job I want to commend the members of his committee for a job well done. Without much ado, let me urge my colleagues, because of lack of time, that we go straight away to give a note of approval to the report, because it's a well put together report and well done. Mr. President, I so submit.
Distinguished colleagues, is there anybody opposed to this bill? Hello? Is there anybody opposed to this appropriation? Okay. So I put the question. Those in support that this bill be now read a third time, it was in front of me. Senate leader, go there. Let me even say, Senate leader, you may wish to move for a motion that we resolve into committee of supply in order to consider this appropriation.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate will resolve into committee of supply to enable us to consider the report. I so move, Mr. President.
Yes, Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. I rise to second the motion by Senate Leader that the House resolve into committee of supply for us to consider the report. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, a motion has been moved that we resolve into committee of supply to consider this report. Those in support of the motion and second, they say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, let us, those in support that Part A of the schedule, total share of Federation revenue, 12 trillion 739 billion 69 million 984,307. naira form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part B, deductions. Total deductions 1.5 trillion. Those in support that this form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part C, federal government share of federation revenues amounting to about 11.2 trillion. Those in support that this form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part D, independent revenues amounting to about 1.9 trillion. Those in support that this form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part E, total dividends 357 trillion, no 357 million, 357 billion 923 million 133,707 naira. Those in support that these total dividends from part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part F, aids and grants totaling 685 billion 632 million 294,000. Those in support that part F form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part G, special levies and accounts amounting to 300 billion. Those in favor that this form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part H, government-owned enterprises for the total of JOEs 3 trillion 645 billion 80 million 469,662 naira. Those in support that this form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part I, 7.6 trillion. Those in favor that part I form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part J, 1.7 trillion. Those in favor that these statutory transfers form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part K, debt service 8 trillion 270 billion 8 trillion 270 billion 960 million 606,831 for debt servicing. Those in favor that part K form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part M, capital expenditure 13.7 trillion. Those in favor.
The item on page 6, the last item, Federal Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology. I don't know whether there's a ministry that exists like that. I know the Ministry of Science and Technology.
Which item is that? Which item? Huh? Yes, there is. There is a ministry like that. Yes. So those in support that part M form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Explanatory memorandum. If I let's say the aggregate expenditure 35 trillion, 55 billion, 536 million, 770 billion, 218 naira. Those in favor that the aggregate expenditure form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Explanatory memorandum, page 12. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Long title. Those in favor of the long title on page 1 form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that clause 1 of the bill form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 2 of the bill form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 3. Those in favor, that's environment. Those in favor that clause 3 form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part 4. The corrigendum. Those in favor that part 4 form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part 5, which has to do with excess revenue. Those in favor that part 5 form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part 6, that has to do with authorization. Those in favor that part 6 form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part 7, information on funds releases. Those in favor that part 7 form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part 8, undue process certification. Those in favor that part 8 form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part 9, information on internally generated revenue, domestic and foreign assistance. Those in favor that part 9 form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part 10, concerns the powers of Nigerian missions abroad. Those in favor of part 10 forming part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part 11, those in favor that part 11, which has to do with the detailed estimates of the bill, form part of this bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part 12, those in favor that the expiry in line with the provisions of section 318 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, this bill will expire after 12 months, starting from the 1st day of January to the 31st day of December 2024, when eventually assented to. Those in favor that this form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part 13. The bill may be recited as the Appropriation Act Amendment Bill 2024, which is the short title. Those in favor that the short title form part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, Leader of the Senate, you may wish to move that we move from Committee of the Supply to report progress.
Mr. President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that the chair report progress from the Committee of Supplies. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of Supply considered the report of the Committee on Appropriation on the 2024 Appropriation Amendment Bill 2024 and approved as follows. Part A, total share of Federation revenue as recommended. Part B, total deductions as recommended. Part C, total share of Federation revenues as recommended. Part D, total independent revenues as recommended. Part E, total defense dividends as recommended. Part F, total aids and grants as recommended. Part G, total special levies and accounts as recommended. Part H, total GOE's revenue net of operating surpluses as recommended. Part I, the totality of the appropriation, including the amendments, as recommended. Part J, total statutory transfers, as recommended. Part K, total debt service, as recommended. Part L, total recurrent expenses, non-debt, as recommended. Part M, total capital outlay in terms of expenditure as recommended. Aggregate expenditure as recommended. Clauses 1 to 12 as recommended. Short title clause 13 as recommended. Long title page 1 as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of Supplies? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate. Leader of the Senate. You may wish to move that this be read a third time.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the 2024 Appropriation Act Amendment Bill 2024 be now read the third time. I so move, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I'd like to second the motion as ably moved by the Senate Leader. I so second.
Okay. As soon as you see me. Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this bill be now read a third time. A third time. Those in support of the motion as moved and seconded say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill finalized to amend the 2024 Appropriation Act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation the sum of 3,200 billion naira only for capital expenditure and the sum of 3 trillion naira only for recurrent expenditure for the year ending on the 31st day of December 2024. Third reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Appropriation Act 2024 to provide for the sum of 6,222,595,926,139 naira only, of which 3,222,595,926,139 naira only for capital expenditure and the sum of 3 trillion only for recurring expenditure. Third reading taken. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the 2024 Appropriation Act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation of the sum of 3 trillion 200 billion only for capital expenditure and the sum of 3 trillion only for recurrent expenditure for the year ending 31st day of December 2024. Third reading taken and passed. Let me commend the chairman of the Senate Committee on Appropriation and members of this committee for expeditious manner in which they carried out this assignment, and pray that the amendment will enable the country to reach its El Dorado and bring about a renewed hope, and also stem the tide of protests by the labor unions, and particularly commend Mr. President for the agreement reached in this minimum wage saga, and pray that at the end of the day, Nigeria will be better with this budget as amended. I congratulate all of us for our contributions and our cooperation, and of course our sacrificial nature to the development of our dear country. I thank you all. Without the Senate, you may wish to suspend every other item on the other paper to enable us proceed on a short break to come back and reconsider the votes and proceedings of the Senate.
Well, Mr. President and very distinguished colleagues, let me most humbly and most respectfully, on behalf of the Senate Committee on Finance, apologize to both the President and our distinguished colleagues.
Distinguished Senate Leader, please let's proceed as directed by the Senate President. We move a motion for us to suspend other items on the paper and proceed on recess so that we can come back and consider what we have done here. Is that the view of the Senate?
Mr. President.
Those in support of what the Senate President has said, can you say aye? Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Please proceed as directed by the Senate. Don't go into that, please.
Mr. President, may I respectfully just request that you listen to the chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance upon your ruling.
Distinguished colleagues, is it the view of the Senate that we go on recess to come back and consider the votes and proceedings? Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Mongunu, can you move a motion in line with the Senate decision? Move a motion in line with the Senate decision, please. We go on a recess. Move a motion in line with the Senate decision.
But this is your function now. Why should I do your function?
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. President, distinguished senators. Huh?
Yes, proceed in line with the Senate decision.
It's for us to go on short recess.
Yes, Senator Olare.
Mr. President, he has not moved any motion to be seconded.
He has moved a motion.
No, sir, we don't need the motion. It's past 3. It's for you to just.
Okay. Distinguished colleagues, in line with the decision of the Senate leader, looking into our rules, this Senate is hereby adjourned till 4:30. Clerk, will 4:30 be appropriate, or do we look at 5? Huh? We will try. So the Senate is hereby adjourned to 4:30 p.m. To reconvene to look at the votes and proceedings of the day.